Okay, good afternoon. My name is Rob Abowitz from There we go. That's me. I'm Rob Abowitz from the Office of Residence Life.
Right. And my name is Brian Woodruff, and I'm the director working in the Housing Options, Meals, and Events, also known as the Home Office.
We want to start by thanking Mark Pontius from the Parent and Family Programs Office in the Division of Student Affairs for setting up this webcast. Mark's going to be reviewing your questions and passing them to us to address after our brief presentation. Please just use the chat function in the bottom right corner of your browser to submit questions. While we're at it, go ahead and give us an OK in the chat field if you can hear us and if you can see our brief agenda here on the left side of your screen. All right, we got people who can hear us. Some can, some can't. We advise you to check the volume on your personal device. And then you can chat with Mark on screen if you're still having problems using it. All right, we've got a lot to cover, including room assignments and changes, my card, all the details for move-in day. So Brian is going to begin.
All right, so as you know by now, all students have been sent an email notifying them that their room assignments are finalized. In that email, they were prompted to log into My Card, where students conduct much of their business related to living on campus. This My Card website reveals student room assignments, mailing address, dimensions of rooms, roommate information. It also shows Moolah account balances, meal plan account balances, and other things as well. The email also received by them informed them of the arrival time on move-in day, so that's an important piece there as well, as we try to control traffic on campus and make it a smooth day for everyone. Within that My Card page, they'll also be able to review meal plan options for the subsequent semesters. There'll be an options for repairs. Among other things, students can submit work orders for concerns they have about their room during the semester using the My Repair Request link. Room changes. I'd like to talk just a few minutes about this. At this point, room assignments are finalized. If a student, for any reason, wants to change the room assignment, they should wait until the second week of school, at which point they could speak to their resident director to talk about a possible room change if there was a need for that for a reason. There are a few things we suggest students doing prior to arriving on campus. The first would be to communicate with their roommate. Even if the roommate is someone they know, we really encourage they would still communicate about what items they each intend to bring to campus. We want them not to duplicate items, and they can also then begin that process of building a respectful relationship with regular communication. Obviously, students will want to start packing for college. And there are two websites that I want to draw your attention to, thinking about what to bring. The first would be the Home Office website, which is showing on your screen right now, miamioh.edu/housing. And this is a website where you'll find lots of information about housing, including a frequently asked questions page, which has a lot of really helpful things, common questions that we receive in our office. It includes what should I bring to campus? The second helpful website is through the Office of Residence Life, and this contains the regulations on campus living, which includes a list of prohibited items in the residence halls. And you'll find that within those websites there are links back and forth to each of them. Of a particular note is the complete prohibition of candles, incense, candle warmers on campus. Even wickless candles and wax warmers are prohibited. So we want students to avoid the $500 fine that the Oxford Fire Department would issue for anyone who possesses a candle on campus or who tampers with the fire safety equipment. So please make sure to remember those important pieces.
All right, we're moving along. Let's talk about move-in day. Most students will arrive on campus on Thursday, August 24th, 2017. Students who live in Emerson and Hahn Halls should move in on Wednesday, August 23rd. We do this to alleviate traffic in 2 areas of campus that have typically experienced significant backups in the past. As Brian stated earlier, your students' arrival time was noted in their email from the home office. And if you're not sure when they should arrive, the chart listed here shows how we determine the arrival time. And we did this so we could spread out arrivals throughout the day and throughout the buildings. So that would indicate the end of their room number. So a student in room 222 would arrive at in between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. Someone in 106 arrives from 1 to 3 p.m. That's how we calculated that. The plan for moving in is to get you as close to your residence hall as possible so you can then unload your vehicle. Students go inside to check in while family members unload the vehicle. Then you should immediately move the vehicle to parking away from residence halls so others can pull in and unload. Do not leave your vehicle unattended. On move-in day, there's going to be many volunteers and university staff present to help unload your vehicle. We have our physical facilities staff and then upper-class volunteers from student organizations, athletic teams, religious organizations, and so forth. Whereas we cannot guarantee that you'll receive assistance, there will be hundreds of students and staff helping across campus. After your vehicle is unloaded, you must move it to remote parking. In almost all cases, there's free parking in designated areas or garages a short walk from the residence halls. In some cases, there will be a van shuttle available all day to take students and families back and forth to remote parking. But most of you will not need the van because your remote parking or your parking is so close to your quads. Again, please do not park adjacent to the residence halls. A couple other things about move-in day. Vehicles are not permitted to block any dumpster near the residence halls while you're unloading because the dumpsters need to be emptied several times on August 24th. You can help with recycling by not putting empty boxes in the dumpsters. Rather, collapse empty cardboard boxes and neatly pile them behind the dumpster. And all that will get picked up by our campus recycling staff who will take it away. Most of the dining halls will be open when you arrive on campus. You can ask anyone for directions to the nearest dining hall where you're moving in. Students may use their meal plans on that day, and family members can pay cash or credit card. Also, adjacent to several of our buffet dining locations, we'll have what we call hydration stations, where we'll give away water on move-in day. So if we have a particularly hot day, it's important that everyone stay hydrated, and we've got free water for everyone at those locations. A lot of parents in the past have asked us, what's that day like? When should we leave? And we want you to know that students should be ready to join their corridor for dinner on Thursday, August 24th around 5 p.m. That's not a formal thing, but it's informally. That's when students will go together to dinner that night, and most parents and family members do not join them for that first dinner. And then following that, there's mandatory hall meetings beginning at 6:30 p.m., and those hall meetings are then followed by corridor meetings with the RAs. Right after those, campus-wide social events continue for all new students. So it's in essence, you should head out in the afternoon, if not sooner, on Thursday, the 24th. We've got some advice for you to help avoid unnecessary damage charges. Please follow these policies when setting up your room. Only use putty-type Plastitac or S-hooks to hang things on your walls. The use of Scotch tape, masking tape, duct tape, and any product with self-adhering strips is prohibited because they damage the walls. Even products that advertise they are damage-free have caused damage and therefore are not permitted. And we want you to avoid being charged those fees and requiring us to repaint parts of the walls at the end of the year. We have a website listed here, First Year Move-In, and we want to encourage you to visit that website because there are answers to frequently asked questions about move-in day, And there's also maps currently posted there that show you the traffic flow for your specific residence hall and gives you directions to the parking where you can park on move-in day. You should feel free to print that map and bring it with you on move-in day. Finally, before we open it up to your questions, we've got some suggestions for not only successful move-in, but for successful living on campus. The first is for everyone to employ patience. So we tell our staff to practice patience, and we want new students and their families to also be patient. We have years of experience with move-in day, but as you know, when thousands of students and families are arriving on the same day, we're going to encounter some bumps along the way. And we're going to do our best to resolve all those problems. We've got a lot of staff and desire to get everything worked out, and we appreciate everyone's patience on move-in day. Students should arrive ready to experience new situations and new people. This doesn't mean they'll all need to be bubbly and outgoing, but just flexible and open to their new life on campus. It may take some longer than others to feel perfectly comfortable, and our staff here are here to help any students who struggle to get connected. Students should be ready to learn. As we discussed during orientation this summer, we do not see the residence halls as a haven from learning, rather another context in which student learning occurs. So to the degree that you can help your students ready to learn about interacting with new people, new situations, problem solving, learning about themselves, we encourage that as well. And finally, anytime you or your students encounter a problem that you cannot resolve on your own, please reach out to us. The staff in the home office and the resident directors and resident assistants in the residence halls are here to help. So please don't hesitate to find someone or have your student to find someone. Now we're glad to respond to your questions. Again, go ahead and type them into the chat box at the bottom right side of your browser, and we'll respond to as many of them as time permits.
All right, and we've got a few of them already here. The first one is, how do we get roommate email addresses? And that would be available through the MyCard account. So if your student logs into MyCard, that's miamioh.edu/mycard, M-Y-C-A-R-D.
If I can back up really fast here on the presentation, we had a screenshot of MyCard, and I can point that out to you. And this is so when students, hold on, I gotta get rid of this. When students click on My Personal Info, they will see their information and then bed occupant information, and there's the roommate's email address right there.
Actually, I think they need to click on My Room.
Oh, My Room.
Yes.
Okay.
One of the, it should be My Room.
Not
if you
My
click
Personal
My Room,
Information.
Yes.
So
My Room would give you what you're seeing there on the screen, which includes email address, and if it's in the system, a phone number for the roommate as well. Another question, if I requested early move-in, how do we confirm it's approved? As long as you requested that, there's not really an approval process for that. The system should generate a response back that it was received, but those are all approved unless you hear otherwise. If you wanted to confirm that, you could always contact the home office at home, H-O-M-E, at miamioh.edu if you want to send an email just to confirm, but that should not be a problem for you. Question about signage for remote parking on move-in day, and there will certainly be staff directing you of where to go and where to park, how to drop things off, and signage as well. So that'll certainly be all around. We want to make sure that you know just where to go.
Yeah, there are some lots that we've identified that will have little A-frames out that say for family parking for move-in day. But the best resource is just going to be to ask somebody. On that Thursday, there's going to be hundreds of people out, and they'll point you to the closest parking.
Mm-hmm. Question about dining halls opening, and dining halls will be open on August 23rd. They'll be ramping up to that before then, but that's really when the majority will be open by August 23rd, and then by August 24th, really everything for the most part, will be open.
Yeah. So, and for early arrival students, there are dining halls, like there are dining halls open on campus right now for our summer students and our early August programs. So it just, as we approach move-in day, more and more facilities open.
We have a question about if I cannot get there in time for the move-in assigned slot, what can I do? And that's not a problem at all. Again, we really give those as, we encourage students and parents to follow those really to help ease traffic on campus. However, if you're not able to get there at that specific time, that's perfectly fine, and you can come at a time that works for you that day. We do ask that if you're not able to be here by 5:30 p.m., that you would notify the home office so we can communicate with the hall directors in your building, just so that they know they can expect you late.
Yeah. And again, that's not an open invitation for everyone to, come at any time of day, because it really helps when, if you can, you adhere to that suggested arrival time. But we understand that some people are traveling from out of town and, or are staying in hotels that are not in Oxford, and that makes sense, and we want to be flexible. We've got some questions here. Policy for changing if roommates don't get along. What's the process? Okay, so, with 8,000 students on campus, so roughly, 4,000 roommate pairs, I want to first ease your worries. Most roommate pairs work out. Now, and that's in part because we do what we can to help them set reasonable expectations. If students are coming in with the expectation that they're going to be best friends forever or bridesmaids at each other's weddings, then those expectations are too high. And likewise, if students come in and they're expecting it to be terrible, those expectations might be too low. We want students to have reasonable expectations, and the expectation, the hope is that there's mutual respect and communication. So, if your child is not having the time of their life with their roommate, you can ask, well, do you at least communicate about what you need to? Is there at least mutual respect about the use of the space? If so, great. But this question is really, what if that doesn't happen? And my first suggestion is to encourage students to talk with each other. You'd be surprised how many times a student comes to an RA or an RD with a complaint about a roommate, and we say, oh, well, what did your roommate say when you expressed that concern? And they're like, well, I haven't spoken with them yet. And our staff are glad to advise students on the best way to do that and give them tips on what to say and how to approach that, so it's not done with animosity, but that it's done such that there can be a win-win situation. So the first thing we can do is encourage students to talk with each other and give them suggestions on how to do that. If that doesn't work, they should go and find their RA, who is an undergraduate staff member who lives on their corridor and who will meet with them on opening day, and they can help them maybe resolve some problems. They can also speak with their resident director, who is a full-time or a graduate staff member who lives in the building and is glad to either mediate or help clarify policies or meet with the students together or separately. And they're glad to do that. That's part of their responsibilities, is to help those roommate relationships work out. I imagine that the person who asked this question is wondering, well, what if we got to do a room change? And I'll be honest with you, those are rare, but we will do them. We'll allow students to change, A, if we have spaces available, and B, if we think that's the best way to resolve this situation. And the resident director is the person who implements that change process. Going to the home office, going to the president's office, they're all going to refer it back to the resident director in the building. The last thing I want to mention about roommates is that we encourage students to complete the online roommate agreement. This is a form that prompts students on very specific questions that they should answer together to help get them off to a good start or help them mediate conflicts that they're having. So you can also encourage your student to not just complete the roommate agreement, but really spend good time with their roommate discussing those issues. We've got a question here about specific room layout for RUG. I'm not, yeah, the dimensions of the rooms are given on the, in my card. But you're not going to get the inch-by-inch dimension and where we have bump outs for air conditioners and bump outs for, load-bearing structures. So my quite honestly, frank advice to everybody is don't get wall-to-wall carpet. Don't plan on wall-to-wall carpet. If you're bringing a carpet, bring an area rug that's reasonably going to fit for any room. And that's my advice for rugs. And if you haven't made arrangements to buy a rug at home, there is a student organization that sells carpets on campus on move-in day and move-in weekend, and you can walk right up and pick your color and walk it over to the room on move-in day.
All right, we've got some more questions here. Question about generally this presentation, and we want to make sure that everyone knows that this will be sent out and is being recorded. So for you all who are here, as well as others who might have missed it, you'll be able to hear this. A question about what are other ways to avoid getting charged for damages. I think that number one is the importance of when you move in, having your student fill out the condition report of the room, of anything as they look over the room very carefully. Do they notice anything, and you can help them? Do they notice anything that might be damaged, or anything that was not as it should be? Really everything should be in tip-top shape, and we've got people looking over the rooms in numerous ways. But you do still need to check that to make sure. Something else I would say is just the importance of if something breaks or if things happen along the way, the importance of submitting that My Repair request through my card. Always making sure that we know, something is not as it should be. Something is needing fixed during the semester, during the year. Those are some really important things to do.
Yeah, you would rather the student take care of that using a My Repair request during the year when something has occurred than waiting until move out, and then when we do our inspections, we charge them. It is better to get it taken. I mean, it's better for everybody. I mean, we're not worried about the money that we'll collect for the damage. We're worried about all the things that have to be done in the short period of time in the summer that we have. So, but our best advice is have them submit it, call it to the university's attention using the online form. Telling an RA is not going to help. Telling a housing manager or a housekeeper isn't going to help. It's got to be submitted through that online form in my card.
And I would just say again, don't put tape on the walls.
Yeah.
Just don't put tape. When can we start shipping items to campus? So that would be to the University Mail Center, and that would be Monday, August 7th is when they'll begin accepting shipments.
And you send it to this address to the student and their room, and that address is right in their My Card page that we've already shown you. So that's the address. It will go to our Central Mail Services office, and as soon as it's received by our package center, they will email the student to let them know it was received, and then a student has the opportunity to pick them up, and a student also will have the opportunity in that email to request package delivery to the room for the fees that the mail center set.
A question about, are there cleaning products available in the halls? I think there's limited, but there are products available, and your students would just need to ask the hall staff.
Yeah, ask the housekeepers. There's daily housekeeping provided by university staff in all the public areas and all the public bathrooms 5 days a week, and then a spot cleaning on the weekends. So if they just find one of those staff members, they will gladly offer them the cleaning materials. And then in the through the RAs, you can frequently check out a vacuum, or they can get you access to brooms and dustpans. So we have that stuff. All right, let's go to let's see, I got another question here. Triple rooms, will the beds automatically be bunked? Not necessarily. It depends on the space in the room, and there are some where it just kind of naturally, well, we should probably bunk these, but we're not automatically bunking those beds. And it'll be obvious to you which beds can be bunked because the pegs are there, it's built into the furniture. So they won't automatically be bunked. In most cases, you've got a lot of flexibility for how students set up the room. I got a question here that came in early on about Stanton Hall in particular, which is one of our traditional halls and is still on the schedule to be renovated in the next couple of years, but it is one of our renovated buildings and does not yet have centralized air conditioner. And the question is, how does it stay cool if there's no air conditioning? The first response is, for the most part, here in Southwest Ohio, it's going to get cool. It'll get cool at nights. We're already having cool nights already. So most students don't need air conditioning or use them. But that being said, every one of those rooms has a window unit. There's the exception of a few students in one of the Western Hall drive. No, all those rooms I'm getting the head shake now. Yeah. Every room, like I said, every room has, if they're not in a building with central air conditioner, every room has a window unit to keep them cool. So you'll be set. Repeat the halls that move in Wednesday. Oh, there's only 2 halls that move in Wednesday, and that's Hahn Hall and Emerson Hall. And if you forget that again, that's listed on our website as well. And it's in the email. In the email that the student received, it will tell them which day. All right, what about bringing futons? Well, let me start with this. I coordinate a program at the end of the year called ShareFest, when students can give away still useful belongings to agencies that pick it up through the residence hall. These are things that students no longer want or need or use. And I got to tell you, we collect at least a dozen futons every year in ShareFest. So my sense is that most students do not bring extra furniture to the room. Basically, there's just not enough room for it. And I think it's certainly going to require bunking of beds, and it's just going to make the room feel more cluttered. So my personal advice is leave the futon at home in the basement. Don't buy a new futon. You don't need to bring a futon. It's lots of lugging for you. And people hang out on their beds. And in many of the areas we have the newer furniture, for which the bed is elevated, I would say at belly height, such that we can put furniture under the bed, and that creates a scenario where you don't even want to have futon in the room.
You got more there?
I got plenty more.
Keep going.
We'll go back and forth here. All right, we've got for the August 23rd move-in for Hahn and Emerson. The question is about dinner and meetings that night. It is likely that the staff in those buildings will encourage those students to go to dinner altogether. And they're going to be offering some optional social events that night for the people who arrived on the 23rd. But they're not going to do their formal all-hall meetings and corridor meetings until Thursday night. So if you did want to have, go with your student to dinner, they might be missing an opportunity to have dinner with their corridor, their people they meet in the residence hall that first night, but they won't be missing any required meetings on Wednesday night, the 23rd.
Question about bed rails on the furniture, and those should be included in every room. Should have the bed rails in there. If you don't have one, you could just do a My Repair request and ask for that to be brought to you. Question about if moving in early, if the pre-purchased bedding would be in the room. So that is what we call stuff for my room. If you ordered linens or desk lamps, some of those supplies that we deliver to the rooms, yes, those should be there. We try to keep track of anyone coming back early and get those to your room so they're there when you arrive. Questions about any special instructions for students who move in early. The one thing I would say is important if you move in early is to be sure that you do connect with the check-in desk on the official move-in day for your hall, just to go through the check-in process with your hall staff. That'll be in the lobby typically of the hall.
Yeah, we're giving out materials. We're covering special topics at the move-in table. So even if you move in, earlier in the week because of a special circumstance or because of a program you're participating in, you should do as Brian said, yeah.
Let's see here. A lot of questions about packages and mail. They operate a little differently. So packages do go to our package center on campus, and students will get notification of that. We have a locker system. It's 24-hour access. They can go and access those. Regular mail actually comes through the hall staff. Basically, the hall director will pick up the mail from their mailbox in the central office and then bring that and divide it out into the mailboxes for all of the residents. So if they were to receive any regular mail, I'd really discourage regular mail being sent really up until school starts, if it can be avoided. But that would all be brought to the resident rooms in that way. It's those packages that are sent that go to the package center. And those are what we begin accepting on August 7th.
We got a question here about bed lofts. Are they allowed? The answer is no. You're not permitted to bring in construction materials to loft beds. I know there are some universities where that's a thing. It's not a thing at Miami. And a question here about bed risers. In some cases, the furniture, bed risers, yes, could be used. I described earlier our newer furniture that is about waist high, and that one is not conducive for using bed risers. But in other cases, yes, you can buy these things that are about 8 inches off the ground, and you put them under each of the 4 legs of the bed, and it raises them. Quite honestly, fewer and fewer students have used these over the years. I can tell because I see fewer and fewer sets of these in the Share Fest at the end of the year. And so I know the question is going to be, well, how do we know which furniture we have in the room? And my advice to you is wait till you get here. If you decide that you want to use bed risers, there's an Ace Hardware, there's a Walgreens, there's a CVS, there's a Walmart, there's a Gilman's Home Center nearby, and you can run out and get risers if you believe that you want to, store bins or luggage underneath the bed. So my advice is wait and see. I got a question here about Havighurst Hall. Does it have central air? The answer is yes. Can Hahn and Emerson students still move in on the 24th? Yes. We know that by offering the Hahn and Emerson students to move in on the 23rd without having to pay the early arrival fee, we'll get most of those students in early. But if you've already made plans to arrive on the 24th, you'll be fine, and that's great.
Sure. Got a question about if bed number 2 in your room, in your student's room, shows unoccupied. What does that mean? That means that right now there is not another roommate assigned. However, we are still, we do have some students who are still confirming, and some students are still finishing contract things. So, and some room changes going on related to that. So, it is still a good chance that they could get a roommate. And if they don't before school starts, to one of Rob's points earlier, as room changes might be occurring once the school year begins, it could be possible that they could be assigned a roommate then as well. Question about how high is the furniture to know if we can fit things under it. It does vary by hall, and with about 40 residence halls, we have fairly consistent furniture, but as we've renovated and as we've replaced furniture around, there are some different types of pieces. So some of our halls have about 11 inches from the floor to the bottom of the bed. Many of the halls have a bit more flexible furniture that we call low loft, and that means that the beds can actually be raised up to allow much of the furniture to fit under it. So the dressers that are provided and some of the materials we provide can actually fit under those. That is the situation in many of our halls. That's kind of our new standard. It is in many places. Without knowing the specific building, it's a little hard to answer that. However, you know, I would just encourage again on the be ready to be flexible and open to different situations. With the large number of halls we have, I think as you plan on what you're bringing, choosing things that would I think be easy to fit into many situations, not kind of locking yourself in to something too large would be one thing I suggest. And you know that you can always, once you arrive, you can always make a quick trip to Walmart, as Rob mentioned, and buy additional things. If once you really know this is the space that we have, because with over 4,000 rooms, the furniture might be one thing, but there are unique pieces to the rooms as well. So that's always a good idea, is to come with less, and then you can add to it if you need to.
Mm-hmm. We got a question here about activities on Friday morning. When do they start? We get students up bright and early. They'll go to breakfast at their leisure, but then the first thing is convocation at 9 o'clock a.m. on Friday, August 25th. That's a university-wide event. In essence, the start of our academic year. All first-year students and all the staff in the residence halls will attend. That's when we'll have our summer convocation, our summer reading program speaker, and that's going to start at 9 a.m. So our staff, you know, rally up all the students by 8:30 a.m. so they can walk them over and they can be seated and ready for convocation to begin. If you want to know the rest of the activities that are going on during Welcome Weekend and the first 50 days, you can go to miamioh.edu/orientation and find the Welcome Weekend and first 50 days. Also, I know that shortly your students and you can pull that up on your Miami Events app that you downloaded on your phone this summer for orientation. So when you were looking at your orientation schedule, that same app will soon list all of the Welcome Weekend and first 50 days events. And I know that our colleagues over there are finalizing all those events, and those will be posted on the app soon.
I want to go back quickly just to, on the furniture piece. I wanted to clarify that to get a good idea of the kind of furniture that would be in your student's room, you can go on our website, on the Home Office website. Again, that's miamioh.edu/housing. And within that, click on the link on the left that says Residence Halls. There you would see links to all the pages of all of the different halls we have. And within each of those, there is a section that says, I believe it says room features for each hall. And within that, it tells you a little bit more detail about that building. And it would tell you if we have the low loft style furniture or what the dimensions are, at least, of the furniture within the rooms. So you may want to check that out for additional resources as well.
We got a question here about road construction impacting move-in. The answer is right now, if you were coming to Oxford, yeah, it'd be a mess. We got all sorts of projects, but I just received a word from Ohio Department of Transportation that everything is going to be either finished or will be wide open on move-in day. We got a couple of bridges and culverts in the area. There's some resurfacing going on, but all that will be done by move-in day on August 23rd and 24th. So you should not have to worry about that. And if for some reason, whether that's weather or some complication, that there would be an important road closing near us or a construction where we want you to reroute, we would email that to you so you knew. But at this point, you don't have to worry about that. We got a question here about when should the roommate agreement be completed by? We advise students to complete it in the first week, no later than the second week of the school year. So, you know, we used to say do it the first night, but really they haven't had any experience living in the room or with each other. And some students will do it the first night and the second day, and then they'll go back and revise it as they learn new things about, you know, what they want on this agreement. That's a great way to do it. But our staff are going to look on the system and confirm that all these roommate agreements have been submitted and approved by the roommates, you know, starting that second week of class.
Right. One more question about mailing and shipping. This one about medication, if it will be held securely. I can tell you that anything that comes that needs refrigerated, if that were to happen, that'll be held separately. However, if it's just in a normal package, it's going to go in one of all of the lockers. It's a locker system that we have. It's brand new this year. It is secure, and it can only be opened with a particular code that your student would get. So if something comes in a normal package, it's going to go in one of those lockers, and then they would be able to open it with their code. And if it's refrigerated, that would be held separately. How do we know the gender makeup of corridors and floors? The buildings are, there's a variety of the gender on the floors, and that's really something that when you move in and get to know your corridor, you'll learn that. But we really group men and women together, but it could be that within one floor that there could be chunks of men here and chunks of women kind of blocked together. We typically try to group them together near the restrooms that would correspond. For that, do all rooms have closets? Yes, all rooms have some kind of closet storage space, I would say, and that could be a traditional closet with a door. It could be an open style closet that's got a bar and closet space, but is open to the room. That tends to be the thing that students really like today. So we have a lot of halls like that with the open closet concept. And then we also have some rooms that have a wardrobe, which is a movable piece of furniture that would have two doors that opens and is essentially a closet there that you can move anywhere in the room. So among our residence halls, even within the residence halls, there could be a variety of those combinations. But everyone will have some closet space. That's absolutely provided.
I got a question here about how do roommates that arrive on different days determine who gets which bed? I think that's going to be connected with discussions before they arrive. And if you know that your student might feel particular about what bed they have in the room, they should make that known to the student. And I've seen situations where they both agreed that they would not set up the room until the other person was there. I've seen situations where they've set it up and then they've renegotiated it, and with each other's help, they reset up the room so that it felt good for everybody in the room. Most of the rooms on campus are, in essence, they're rectangles, and there's a window at one end and a door at the other end. So for the most part, it's the closet on one side, closets on both sides and windows straight ahead, and it really doesn't matter. But for some of those rooms where it's kind of a unique setup, I would advise students to either communicate beforehand or to wait until the other person's there. Or maybe when the first person's there, they take pictures and they Snapchat each other and do the whole thing like that, and they can make a determination while the other person is en route or is coming on a subsequent day. That's my advice on that. I got a question here. I have no idea how to answer this one, people. How much clothing to bring? I don't know. I mean, that's going to vary by your child. It also obviously depends on how far you are. We have families that are within a couple hours, and they kind of do it by season. And we have families who are clear across the country, and they bring a little bit of everything, and they make it work. And, I certainly would not bring the whole closet and, the entire wardrobe. I think, if you need to, and you might get a sense, and you might be driving home with some stuff if you have a sense that this doesn't fit, or we're really not going to need all 26 soccer T-shirts from high school, so.
And we have TJ Maxx within walking distance and Walmart on the bus route, so
yeah.
If you need to get some more clothing, you can always do that too. Yeah. Less is more, I would say.
Right? I would echo that. Less is more. But I know some of our students, they're going to be like, yeah, Rob, you're old. Okay.
Question about Philo being accessed by Xbox. I don't know specifically on Xbox, but I have, my understanding is that Really, Roku is the best way to do that. There may be some methods for getting that to show up on some other devices, but Roku is what Philo has expressed to us as the preferred method. So the Roku that is available, you can buy it at our bookstore here on campus, also Amazon or any stores you'd find. I believe that Apple TV, you can throw it through Apple TV with an Apple phone as well.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I think Philo or Roku really is that.
I don't know for sure either, but I would refer you to that housing website, miamioh.edu/housing. Click on residential services, and you'll see a link there for Philo Internet TV service. And there's a Philo Help Center there for your specific questions on Philo. Last year, about a quarter of our campus was exclusively on using Philo, and I didn't hear a thing about it. Everyone seemed to make it work, and it worked out fine. So now that our entire campus is going to be on Philo, we're not anticipating many problems or conflicts. But I would refer you to that website for more Philo-related questions. We got a question here about microwave specifications. They have to be 700 watts, 700 watts or less. So generally, you're looking for the smaller microwaves. They should certainly be UL approved, which means they have that sticker that we've all ignored forever on the power cord. That's how you know for sure that it's a UL approved appliance. And I would also coordinate that with a roommate. You certainly don't need 2 microwaves in one room. And you should also know that in all the public kitchenettes and kitchens in the residence halls, we've got microwaves. So if your student isn't sure to be a daily microwaver and they're just going to be a periodic popcorn popper, I would skip bringing the microwave altogether. I can tell you during ShareFest we give away dozens, if not 100 microwaves at the end of the year as well.
Question about door access. Residence halls, the exterior doors as well as student room doors will all have card readers, so it's all smart card electronic door access, and your student will have privileges on their card to let them in to those doors. Question though about restrooms. Restrooms do not have additional card electronic locks or anything like that. They are in the corridors and they are open. However, the buildings themselves are secured at all times with that access. A question about specific dimensions again. That would be for the rooms. You'd be able to see that on your again on the My Card page by clicking the My Room link. There are a few rooms on campus that we may only have square footage and not dimensions for. But for really the vast majority of our rooms, we've got those dimensions listed there in the My Room link on Your Student's My Card page.
And that's what this page looks like. Again. Hey, where did it go? There we go.
There we go.
So it's got the dimensions of the room. This question about laundry rooms. There is one laundry room per building, so they're not on each floor. They are either on the first level or the lower level of the building. And students may not use quarters or cash. They need to put some money on their Moolah account, and then they use their card. And then a couple more tips is if your student comes to campus with the pods, that they should not put the pods, the laundry detergent pods, they should not put the pods in the cups in the machine where the liquid detergent goes. They just throw their pod in with their laundry, and that can help us avoid machines that need to be flushed out because of the pod stuff clogging up the works. And then also I would refer your students to a web page called WebCard Center. And they log in using their Miami credentials, and that's the web page that I'll mention 2 things. It's one where they can report a lost card. So if they lose or misplace their ID card, they should go on any phone or web-enabled device to webcardcenter@miamioh.edu. They log in using their credentials, and they can click a button that says "Lost my card," and it will disable their card instantaneously. And then if they check and, oh, there, found my card, they can go back to that website and click that button again, and it will instantly re-engage their card. That's in a page called Web Card Center. While they're there, they can also click on Laundry on that page, and they can look in their building to see what machines are available, what the timing, and when they're using the machine, they can look at the time left on the machine, again, so that they don't leave their laundry hanging out all day long and stopping up the works for other students who want to do laundry. There's a question here about wireless printers. As you may have heard, we discourage students from, or actually we prohibit students from using the wireless function on their printers. But we know that most standard printers come today with the wireless capability, and that's okay. They just have to make sure that they've pushed the button that turns off the wireless printing function. They have to use a cable to print using their printer. And this is important because it specifically disrupts wireless capabilities around that machine. So the rooms in your student's area could have their wireless affected. And they're also likely to get a call or an email from our colleagues in IT services who are going to say, we've detected a wireless access point coming from this room. You need to disable that. So they can still use that printer, but they just have to push the button that says disable wireless function.
All right, a question about if dehumidifiers are allowed in the rooms. I don't know that I've heard that before. I would say or maybe humidifier, either direction, too much or too little.
Let me check.
Rob's going to check on that. I would say, as he's looking generally, if your student's room is especially damp, if there's too much humidity or trouble in there, you want to let us know that. Going through the my repair request that, it seems like my room's damp, let us know that, because there could be a problem with the HVAC in the room, or there could be issues, and we want to check on that right away. So I would say if there's an abundance of humidity in the room, definitely encourage them to put that repair request in so that our staff can be checking on that.
And if it was a temporary issue, physical facilities will bring an industrial dehumidifier over, and they'll plug it in, and they'll empty it and maintain it, and then remove it when it's no longer needed. So that's something they'll do. Let me look on the lines.
So Rob's going to check on that piece about for the humidifiers, for the those dry times of the year. While he's looking at that, a question about bike storage. Many of our residence halls do have indoor bike storage, not all, but some do. Typically it's our renovated halls, which you would know if you were in one of those, if your rate on your bill showed up as a standard. Otherwise, we do have outdoor bike storage available as well for all of our halls.
Okay, if you remember the page that Brian referred you to earlier, miamioh.edu/reslife, there is a link there for policies, which takes you to the regulations for on-campus living. In the appliances section of that, it specifically says dehumidifiers are prohibited. You may not have dehumidifiers, but there is no mention of humidifiers. So if you're bringing one of those things that basically it's just a small fan over, going over water, that's fine for your room. I would just be cautious, because I know sometimes those dehumidifiers, if you got it pointed in one direction, it's going to collect water on the carpet below. Right. So your students shouldn't let it run all day when they're not in the room. Yeah. Or should be prepared for that possibility. Like test out the amount of wicking you can let your dehumidifier do.
Yeah, and I would say too, with the rooms, they're decent-sized rooms in most cases, but we're not talking about huge open spaces. So with the rooms being with doors closed and windows closed, I would just want to encourage you to be really careful with that. That you're not pumping too much moisture into the rooms. That could cause trouble as well. A quick question here about move-in day. Is it feasible to eat uptown, or is it too congested? I mean, the town does get busy, but I think it would certainly be worth a shot if that was something you're interested in, checking out restaurants in town. I don't know, to be honest, I'm typically not able to get uptown myself on those days, so I don't know how it gets, but I don't know, Rob, if you have a sense of
I don't have
how
a
busy
sense.
restaurants
I'm usually exhausted on move-in day, and I'm not uptown, so I'm sorry about that. I mean, most people are pulling out of town,
Right.
so it's not like commencement weekend or
Right.
family weekend when everybody's in town and everyone's eating dinner here. There's a lot of people moving out, so I think you're going to be able to find something, or you might have to choose, rapid fire pizza over a sit-down restaurant if you're on a time crunch. So. Not that I'm promoting any particular business. That was just a random mention of it could be Chipotle or anything. Okay. Anyway, the closest Bed Bath and Beyond. Huh. I think it's in the Coleraine area, which is a north suburb of Cincinnati. It's exactly 30 minutes south on Route 27, and I think that's our closest. Question, will the laundry rooms be available on move-in day? Yes, they should be available and ready for students to use Moolah. This one, I don't know, Brian. Packages that require a signature.
No. Well, we don't require signatures for packages, but again, it'll be that locker system.
What if they receive a package like from FedEx that requires a signature? Will it go to the mail center desk and they go to the desk and sign for it? Or will our package center sign for it?
Yes. Well, so UPS, FedEx, all of those deliverers will actually be delivering the packages directly to these secured lockers. So I don't know that will be because they're secure. Those deliverers actually have access to put them in the lockers and then secure it. And the only person that can open that is the student who receives that access code that will come to their email account. Now they can share that code with someone else if they want to, send it to their friend. But there's only one code that accesses that locker. So
but the question is, will FedEx and DHL and all those other companies, will they just leave it?
Yes, I believe they will.
Okay, so even if the package specifically requires a signature, we believe that they will leave it in the secure locker for the student to pick up. And as soon as the company puts it in the locker, the system automatically texts or emails the student, emails the students and gives them the code, and that code is good for a one-time use. And as soon as they use that code, it no longer works to that locker, and then another company can use that locker for delivering another package. All right, we're getting down to it. It's 2:01, and Mark has told us we had until 2 o'clock. So if you've got any last burning questions, get them in now. We'll use our bonus minute here. But it looks like we have addressed all of these questions. And again, I refer you to a couple of resources if you get a question that comes to later on, or if you're listening to this recording of this screencast, you can go to miamioh.edu/housing, or you can go to miamioh.edu/reslife. Those are two websites that have lots of information about living on campus. If you have a very specific question, your scenario, you can email the home office at home@miamioh.edu. And then if you've got questions on move-in day, then find our resident directors who will be present on move-in day and certainly throughout a welcome weekend and a resource for your students for the rest of the year. Anything else for us there, Brian?
I don't think so.
Mark, anything else for us? Well, we want to thank you for your attention, and we're looking forward to seeing you at the end of this month.
That's right. Thanks, everyone.